So yes, hello everyone. We're really delighted to be here, and as Lenny said, I'm Zoe Dowling, and I'm presenting today with
Aliza Pollock.
And as the title indicates, today we're going to be talking about the new opportunities for qualitative research which arises in our connected mobile world. And we're going to just tell you a little bit about our experiences in delving into this, what we feel is a very exciting area. So just to kick us off, and let's see if I can maneuver this. There we go. How did we get here? Why did we start exploring this? Well, we thought about the gaps. We thought that we're missing some details, in that we know we want to be with people where they are, but of course naturally we can't be with them all the time. And on top of that, we know that talking about the experiences changes the dynamic, and it can just be them reflecting on it, it can be them using their memory, all of these things. It just changes what we get from people. So we this very quickly brought us to mobile. These devices, which I'm sure many of you have, if not in your hand, to hand. Your iPhone, your BlackBerry, your Samsung Galaxy, and all the rest that are so popular. They're devices which we and consumers and everybody has. We're intimately familiar with them. We have established strong relationships with them. So it's kind of natural that if we leverage the existing capabilities, which are so easy to do, taking a picture, shooting a video, and talking to the phone, be it talking to over the phone, or saying a voice memo, or texting, writing a text note. If we leverage these capabilities, we can use it to our advantage, and keep in contact with consumers whilst they're on the go, and hopefully obtain rich data and key moments of truth. So that's the hope, and it sounds pretty good. We can explore immediate reactions in situ. We can get closer to mobile lifestyles and hard-to-reach consumers, and we can do it in ways that are engaging and fun for participants. And all told, you start to think, wow, is mobile the holy grail of consumer-generated ethnography? And so given this, with this promise, and we're thinking we definitely want a piece of that, we started exploring a number of the different dedicated research applications out there. And applications, I should say, that there's some really great companies with fantastic offerings, and we started exploring them, and importantly, thinking about the different types of client problems that we could address with this new tool, this new methodology. In one of our first forays into this world, we undertook a hypothetical case study, and a big thank you to CIMAC and our friends at Ethos for letting us use their app for this pilot. We came up with the idea just that a car rental company wanted a deeper understanding of their consumer's journey whilst hiring with them. And so using that idea, we composed tasks pre, post, and during the rental process. And what I've got here on this next slide is we actually created a video output from the data. And unfortunately, just due to the the technology of streaming over the web, it wasn't possible to show the video. But what I'm going to try and highlight is just that we created a nice journey. We got a nice picture of what that journey sort of literally and metaphorically is about. All of the data was captured via the mobile phone, and I should, full disclosure, I was the guinea pig. I was the one hiring the vehicle, and I used my iPhone, and I was a very diligent participant, and took lots of pictures and voice memos and video, and even used text notes to respond to the tasks that were created. And if we just go through this very quickly, we're able to use the geolocation feature. Whenever I took a picture or uploaded an entry, you could spill the journey that I took, that went all the way from Los Angeles to the Grand Canyon. In one of the pre-tasks, we had describe your ideal rental vehicle. So when you were thinking about going into this, what are your expectations? What are you thinking about? And for us, we were looking for comfort because we knew we were going to have extended time in the car. And importantly, we wanted it to be clean inside. You wanted it to be clean and fresh, and thinking that you were the only person using this car. So that was kind of the thought going into it. Then we had different tasks around, describing and talking about the pickup process and how was it, and it was fantastic. It was really great. Then we had a sort of a shot saying, or a task saying, using video, tell us about your first impressions of the vehicle. And here, and I picked this out for illustration, but I talk about picking up the vehicle, and there was one thing about it, and it was very, maybe if you look around, most people might not have noticed, but I picked up that it was not particularly clean. That in fact I felt it was a little bit grubby, which already was pointing to, oh, my expectations hadn't been fully met. And that all said, though, if you saw the rest of it, it was, overall though, it's really good. We used some of the other diary features, on day 3 with Grand Canyon, day 4 we moved on to the Hoover Dam, sort of you could trace this kind of journey going on. And then in closing, there was just some reflections and the voice memo, just thinking about the vehicle after we'd done over 1,100 miles. We did notice, as I say here, we're noticing that the brakes aren't as sharp as they should be. And it was nothing that made us think, oh, we want to give up time to go and get this looked in, go into the car rental company where we were to see if we should exchange the car, but just something we thought, if this was our car, we'd know it need work. We also noticed that it popped up saying it needs an oil change. And overall, I think my quote is, I said, so that's a little bit disappointing. And I think just, very blatantly here, though, highlighting just the certain things that we found from the car rental experience of what we're looking for. And Aliza will talk a little bit more about that later on. So, as I said, this was a video output. If you're interested in seeing, I will actually tweet after the session a link. We've got it on YouTube, or you can follow that URL. I'm not sure if it's up there now, but it will be later. And it's a fun little watch.
Yeah, it's actually very amusing. I think that Zoe did it great justice in performing it orally, but it's very amusing.
Yeah, if you want to hear about my vacation plans. So. Suffice to say, though, we were strongly encouraged by the potential for mobile qualitative research after sort of going through this process and seeing the output and just thinking, wow, we can really see what we want to do with this. However, and there's always a battle, however, isn't there? It does bring us to the perils. After taking some more trials, after more reflection on the process, working on a client pilot and so on, we realized that really the creation of this output, the getting to the insights and building the story, and even from a participant point of view, it all took an extensive amount of work. Just that the researcher prep beforehand, building the tasks, as I said already, the amount of time, it turns out I was actually a very dedicated participant. I did put a lot of time into it. As being one participant, it was quite interesting and amazing how much data was generated. You've got to go through your video clips. You've got to go through, I did a voice memo every day for part of the diary, the journey diary, the pictures and the different notes. So there was a lot to just kind of plow through, just with one person. And then, of course, to get that through to the story drafting, analysis, storyboarding, and video production. So what we learned, this was a lot of work, and that actually all this work's required for all projects to make mobile qualitative successful.
And that's only one part. The other half of the equation is that we need consumers to take us on this journey. So as Zoe said, she was a very willing participant. So not only do they need to be willing, but they need to give us the whole story. That's a lot of data they need to recognize. This is another example of a project that we worked on, another case study where we were working for a retailer who wanted to understand fashion trends a little bit more, really how they're lived versus how they're communicated. So we put together, we were talking to trend-setting youth, and we thought this is an incredible sample to really play with mobile, because for them, really, mobile is an appendage. So we put together a set of pre-task, and we were very specific about it. We asked them to go through their closets and go through their rooms and show some style items that really reflect their personal style. And in another incarnation of a qualitative research project, we probably would have done this through a diary, but we thought, let's take advantage of this technology that they have at their disposal. Let's see if we can really kind of get access to this immediacy. So if you can see from the pictures, the outputs were interesting, but they were pretty standard. They were pretty average. There's a picture of a bicycle with a tie on it. There's a pair of pants on it. So I mean, this guy is using his bicycle as a de facto clothing rack. It's interesting. It's not, it's not mind-blowing. You see his collection of colognes. That tells us a little bit about his style, about where he thinks he's going. But we noticed as we were looking at his footage, as he was panning over his armoire and his desk, that there's a picture of Tupac Shakur, a framed picture of Tupac Shakur. So we felt like this was accidental footage that really excited us, and we were wondering, well, what does this young, affluent Persian guy from an affluent neighborhood in Los Angeles see in Tupac? What does he see in this kind of, poet rocker? And for a qualitative researcher, this is really manna from heaven. And at this point in time with the app that we were using, we just didn't have the ability to probe. And we kind of lost that little piece of information, which was terribly sad. And what we realized from all of these case studies that we put together is that mobile really is a tool. And to get the most out of it, you really need to put the most in. So what does that mean? Well, while each project is customized, we feel at this point in time where the technology is and where consumers are with that technology, we feel like these broad steps should be followed. The first thing to think about is that it's really essential to consider your participant throughout the process. Keep it streamlined so they go from feeling that, oh, this is fun, to feeling involved, to actually feeling committed. So we put together this framework starting with, at the beginning, thinking about your study design. So how are you going to use mobile here? Are you going to use it in accompaniment with something else? We've got an online platform called AVID. So we can use it with that and follow up with them, possibly interviews, maybe focus groups, maybe a survey. At this point in time, our recommendation is to combine it with something so that you can always have that face-to-face catch-up with someone just in case.
Sorry, that's us here in Los Angeles. Just busy here.
Sorry. Such a great presentation. The cops came. So as I was saying, at this point in time, we really feel that mobile needs to be used in conjunction with something else so that you can always catch them, catch yourself, probe on something interesting that's come up. Then you really need to think about operating systems. There are a number of different operating systems out there across your sample. They're complicated. They represent some problems. You need to think through how you want to use them. You also want to think through all the mobile apps that are out there. You have a choice between dedicated qualitative apps like QualView or Ethos, those apps that really know our business, or you possibly want to work with something that consumers know that's more integrated and authentic to their lives. So maybe something like Evernote, which is just a kind of an app that grabs information. That's a choice that you have to think about. You also need to put together a very detailed, specific, but accessible instruction list. Again, you're asking them to be your cinematographers, your creative directors. They need some pointers. The same thing that's about the technology, but in terms of the content, you need to put together a very strong task list, and you need to think about your response mechanisms. We found that it's really helpful, if not extremely advisable, to actually link your task to a specific response mechanism. So make sure that task A is about audio or is about video, because if you leave it at this point to consumers' devices, no pun intended, you'll get a lot of pictures, and that's not going to help you as much as you want to be helped from this process. And ultimately, going through, you need to think about what you're going to be doing afterwards, post. Are you going to be doing a video that really, changes what you're getting, how you're thinking about asking and designing these tasks? Are you going to go into a survey, etc.? And I think the most important thing throughout every aspect of this process, every phase, is that you have to constantly think about how you're going to engage, how you're going to keep your respondent focused throughout this incredible longitudinal experience. So it's really not something that happens accidentally. It's really thought through and designed from conception. So really one wonders, all that work, why? Why bother? Clearly, mobile is giving us access in fresh and meaningful ways. It got us to somebody's closet. It took us on Zoe's trip. It got us to details and moments that we as researchers simply couldn't have got to, and in a very fresh, meaningful, and inobtrusive way. So we just wanted to talk to you a little bit, very briefly, about all the benefits that some of these response options give you. Video, you have a very personal, authentic view into the consumer's world. Photo, sometimes the pictures does speak 1,000 words, and it's really helpful just to get all the data captured, and we as researchers make sense of them. Audio is very old school, but there's something incredibly authentic about it. When you're listening to people's ums and ahs and hesitations, you're really getting a sense of the emotionality and the personality beyond the words. Very rich detail. You also have notes. I mean, there are some moments where you need to be, the consumer or your respondent needs to be inobtrusive. So, for instance, when Zoe was at her car rental place, sorry, a little LA sound effect as well. When Zoe was at her car rental place, it was very crowded. It just would have seemed quite intrusive to start talking into her phone or start taking pictures or video. But this was a great place to write top of mind bulleted notes. And also we have this geolocation capability. So just going back to this rental car pilot, just wanted to show you what mobile did for us. So Zoe was talking about how it seemed a little grubby. Now, to the naked eye, it wouldn't have seemed grubby. It smelt like detergent. It was clean. It had been vacuumed. There was a little tiny dot, a speck of dirt. But the most important thing that this revealed, which we believe is important to this rental car company, is that this speck of dirt really punctured the illusion of ownership, of sole ownership. When you rent a car renters tell themselves the story that it's only been driven by them to mitigate how, uncomfortable, if not creepy, it is that hundreds, if not thousands, have been in this car. So this tiny speck of dirt just revealed that kind of illusion. And our recommendation to the car company would be to keep this story of sole ownership alive. It's not just about hygiene. It's not just about cleaning and vacuuming assiduously. It's about transporting people when they're in this space.
And then just conscious of the time here, but just a very quick thought on how dedicated research apps, which are fantastic and very fit for purpose in many situations, but mobile can be used in many creative ways. And as Aliza had already said, that there's Evernote, there's other apps like that, and it's got us thinking, social sharing, liking, and pinning, for example, are very normal activities that are becoming ingrained in our everyday lives. And they offer, I should have said here, it's not just dedicated apps. There's dedicated, there's websites that have supplementary or complementary applications that go with them, which allow participants to use the device of their choice, now be it a smartphone, be it a tablet, be it their laptop or desktop computer. So use the device of their choice to either pull content from the web and pin it, share it, to us in a way that could be meaningful for the project, but they can also upload and create their own content at the same time using these apps. So we think there's a lot of potential for mobile, that goes beyond sort of the dedicated apps and using tools that are out there already. The caveat here is that it, of course, must always be done with purpose. We've got to know, at the end of the day, you're there to answer your client's problem, and it's about meeting that problem with the best tools that are going to answer that problem and also work for the participants, the people that you're talking to.
Mm-hmm. So we really visualize our positions as able conductors. We need to flex our research muscles to forage, make meaning, and tell stories. We need to help our respondents find the data that we're looking for. It's still always about capturing the right data, mining it when we get it, and turning it into actionable insights. So just a reminder, at this point, to make this work for you, you need to get your freak on. You need to get your inner control freak on. It really is about designing it from the beginning and staying true and dedicated to your design all the way through. So we thank you so much for listening to our story and listening to our sound effects as well.
Yeah, sorry about that.